Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Done.
Excellent. And why do we record? Actually, Emma, you tell us, why do we record?
There's a few reasons, Ken, actually. Well, we record so that because all the diligent people that are participating are going to want to re-watch it all to see your fantastic presentation, Ken. But also just in case, you get sidetracked or with an email or someone coming to see you at your desk, you can go back and have a look at what you missed. And also just in case anyone does miss the session, we will have it available, which we'll talk about in a little while, how many sessions that ideally you will miss for the program when we go through all of the assessment logistics as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And I put a little content warning there. We do show some road crash scenes, nothing overly graphic, just some scenes to try to identify how we can prevent those in the future or lessen the severity of the incident. And try and learn from some of that. So if that's something that could disturb you, I just flag that with you at this stage. Emma, you can introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I am Emma Arrow, and I am your moderator for this program. And also I'm a training coordinator at Safe Systems Solutions. So I can certainly help you with any of the admin side of the program. So if you're not able to make a session or you need some assistance with our learning management system, or you have any questions around accessing any of the content or any assignment upload issues or anything around that sort of back end logistics side, I can certainly help you with. I'll show you our learning management system at the end of the session and show you how you can upload your assessments and where we'll house the recording and all of that kind of thing a little bit later. Anything related to the content, feel free to contact Ken, or you can contact me and I can certainly pass it on as well. My contact details are there. Feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to help you.
Thanks, Emma. And because this is the webinar version of Zoom, we use the chat function, which many of you are already doing. And we also, if for some reason the chat's not working, you can use the Q&A. We prefer the chat though, so it's all there. And as many of you know, you can decide to do that to just hosts and panelists, or there's the little arrow drop down and you can do it to everybody. And we like a bit of chat with everybody so others can see what questions are coming in and people making comments on stuff. We do have the ability to unmute you or let you unmute yourself. We use that potentially in later modules for some case studies, get your input. But if you really burningly want to talk about something or the like, you'd raise your hand, then we'd give you the ability to unmute yourself. But the chat seems to work well. It stops the people forgetting to unmute and the dogs barking in the background and shouting at colleagues or the like. So we'll stick with that. I will ask lots of questions of you and I expect you to put the answers into the chat. So my name's Ken Beer. I'm the principal engineer at Safe Systems Solutions. We're a specialist road safety consultancy, mainly road safety engineering consultancy. And I have Fergus Tate as a co-presenter in this course. And many of you will know Fergus for his time at Wakatahi, but at other places. He's with WSP now. So he'll be in for one of the modules. My contact details are there. Also a QR code to my LinkedIn there if you want to connect with me. I do put out quite a bit of road safety engineering, road design style content to try to continue upskilling the industry in specifics around best practice road safety, engineering, auditing, design, and the like. So feel free to connect with me. And as Emma said, any technical questions around the content, you are welcome to contact me, or as Emma mentioned, go through Emma if you want. But my contact details are there, and it'll be good to get to know you. For those I don't know, and hello to the people I've met and worked with before. Now, Emma mentioned the learning management system. You have to have access to this to successfully complete this course. You cannot successfully complete the course without access. So if you have not accessed that, got that email from Safe System Solutions and logged in, you need to do that. So get in contact with Emma or whoever's sent you calendar invites. However you've got to this stage, get in contact with someone because you really need access to that. We'll take you through, show it through the end. It's very user-friendly, easy to understand, but you'll do your quizzes in there. You'll upload your assignments in there. It's got the slides, so you can, have a copy of those. Now, Emma, who is this wombat?
This is Wally the wombat, Ken.
What does Wally do?
He's our friend. So what you need to do is you need to count your Wallies throughout the program. So it's just a fun thing to do to keep you engaged. So as part of our quiz at each module, you'll be asked how many Wallies that you see throughout the session. Now we have provided you a paper Wally wombat counter, but a piece of paper will work equally as well. This Wally here is not considered part of your count. So
0 Wally.
0 Wally.
Keep
no
an eye out for
Wally.
Wally.
Yeah.
Will appear. That's just a little icon of Wally there, just so you know what to look for. And that is one of your quiz questions at the end of each module. So we do have competency benchmarks that you have to get over in order for us to give you a certificate of successful completion. So we need you to attend 4 of the 5 live webinars, ideally 5 of the 5, and interact with us, answer the questions that we ask and the like. And so if you do have to miss one, you got to view that. And, if for some reason you absolutely can't make another one, just get in contact with them and have a chat about that. We need you to complete all the set tasks, so quizzes, exercises, the audit site visit and report. And we have an 80% pass mark requirement. So you have to get above 80% on all quizzes and assignments. And we don't shy away from setting that benchmark there. And yeah, the thing is though that we provide one-on-one coaching if you need it. Some of you will find it no challenge at all to get over the 80% pass mark. You'll listen to the content, you'll understand it, you'll get out there and you'll put it into practice, because everything we're getting you to do, you'll be walked through. However, some of you might struggle with it, and then after you've had a go at it and submitted it, we'll offer you that one-on-one coaching, and we'll go through and we'll work with you to build up your competency. So before I jump into the next little bit, Emma, looks like you've got some prizes behind you. Is that right?
I sure do, Ken. I'm in the prize pit here. So prizes for everyone that answers questions. Well, the first people that answer questions.
Okay, that's right. So I will ask questions, and if you're the first one to answer correctly, or if you ask a really good question or the like, your chance to win a prize. And how do we get the prizes to you? Well, you hopefully got a little welcome pack from us. Don't worry if that hasn't arrived yet. Nothing critical in there, just something to get you going. But at the end, you'll also receive a little pack and certificate if you've got some prizes that you've collected along the way. Okay, well, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the many lands we're running this training on. Pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. And I think I'll get into some of the content, but please put your questions into the chat as we go. Don't wait for me to stop and say, does anybody have any questions? Because I'll pause for a little bit and then you'll be typing and then I'll move on. And then by the time you send it through, I'll be moved on and we'll be jumping back. So as you see something you've got a question about, pop it into the chat. Emma will be monitoring that behind the scenes. I'll be having a look as well. If I answer it as in the discussion going forward, then we won't need to talk about it. And if not, we'll feed those through and we'll talk about it. I I'm always happy to go off on tangents. I'll sort of, maybe some of them I won't go too long on, just to make sure we cover the critical content we need to. But yeah, if you've got questions about different aspects of road safety auditing, engineering design and the like, I will certainly happily get into it. Okay, so we are here to do the road safety audit course, but excitingly, Waka Kotahi has just released a new document to keep me on my toes, and I have updated our content to align with the new document, and I'll take you through that shortly. This is the road safety audit course. It all gets a little bit confusing with the release of this new document, but I've done a couple of diagrams to hopefully help you through that. So let's get moving. Now, from the get-go, I want to say that we are here to talk about the process of road safety auditing. Okay, there's no possible way in the modules that we have and the time we have together in the assignments you can learn all the technical elements you need to undertake road safety audits. I mean, that's just a sort of career journey. You will continue to build and get knowledge and work with others, right? This is about the process of road safety auditing. However, we are going to make sure you have some basic skill sets and know how to look at different aspects of the road network for risk. We are ensuring you undertake road safety audits through a safe system lens. Part of the new Waka Kotahi guidelines are forcing that, which is great. We have, for the last 10 years, been running this course and pushing integration of safe system into road safety auditing. And despite it not particularly being specific in the guidelines, and finally, well, New Zealand has taken a big step forward and actually integrated that in. So that's wonderful. It means that our content has been good for a long time, and now we've just clarified it to make sure the language and processes are exactly the same. I'm going to present some examples of common issues. I've been road safety auditing for a long time, and I have had roles in different governments, managing road safety audit policy, being lead trainer for road safety auditing across New Zealand, Australia, lots of parts of Southeast Asia. And so I've picked up, okay, these are common things that we find in road safety audits. And so I'll give you some of those examples. We want you to, well, we need you to consider all road users. So we're talking cyclists, motorcyclists, heavy vehicles, pedestrians, cars, and others. You know, we might categorize something like an e-scooter into a pedestrian category in general, but we'll be thinking about those specific unique road users as well. And we want you to encourage road safety audit as one tool to improve road safety. And then, of course, I want to answer any questions you've got. Right. I'm going to be nice to you here. There's a Wally. Wally count is now 1. No more help from me. Okay. So this is a pretty exciting time with road safety auditing and safe system assessing in New Zealand. So what we've just seen is that, well, in early this year, Austroads released this document, and that's the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, Road Safety Audit. Now, I was the technical advisor to Austroads on this document, and we integrated a lot of, I suppose, good safe system principles into that, and I'll explain what that means later. That was released, and then New Zealand had this 2013 document, right? And there was a period where New Zealand was operating under the 2013 document, and Austroads was ahead of New Zealand. But as I say, on Monday, so yesterday or over the weekend or Friday night, I can't quite put my finger on exactly when it was, the Safe System Audit Guidelines were released. And that's the document there. So we'll make sure we put a copy of that document into the learning management system. However, it's available on Waka Kotahi website. What this does is it takes this other process, which is Safe System Assessments, integrates that in and takes a lot of the aspects of the new Part 6, some of the aspects of that, and some of the aspects of a Safe System Assessment and piles them into one. Now, what you're going to get is an understanding of the context of how these two fit together, as in Safe System Assessing fits into this. But we're really going to be covering off the road safety audit part of a Safe System a Safe System audit, I should say, which is, yeah. So essentially what we're seeing is this sort of Safe System Assessment and then a road safety audit, which is kind of consistent with that, with a little bit of that. And then that combined package is what is referred to as a Safe System audit. Now that's this oversimplification of it. But what this course is going to do is teach you how to do that component of it, how to contextualize it within that, but not specifically how to do that. That is our Safe System Assessment course. Okay. However, you will get a pretty good feel for how you can sort of do that. And you can team up with people that have done the course, or you can do the course yourself. Waka Kotahi subsidizes that course as well. Okay, so that's a bit complicated, and it is absolutely brand new, like brand new. Now, I did get an early version of it, so I managed to get my head around some of the concepts early and integrate things in, but the latest release did have some little specifics. We've released a fact sheet on this, and as I say, the content has been updated. Okay, so I will be sort of interchangeably referring to two things here. I will talk about a safe system audit, and I will talk about a road safety audit. When I talk about a safe system audit, I'm talking about a road safety audit that includes this bit. God, I've made a real mess of this slide, haven't I? Let's get rid of all that. If I talk about a safe system audit, yeah, I'm really talking about this entire entity of those two. And if I talk about a road safety audit, I'm talking about essentially, well, this part of it, which is that and that, or parts of those. Now, you might think, why are you bothering to make any differentiation? You just talk about safe system audits. The reason for this is that our course is accepted by the Victorian government, the New South Wales government, the Queensland government, who else? The South Australian government, for registration as a road safety auditor. Okay, so what we need to do is ensure that we cover off that road safety audit specific content. We also contextualize it within the safe system audit, the absolute recent release. That way, if you want to go and become a road safety auditor in Queensland or something, you can use your certificate of successful completion from here to become a registered auditor there. I hope that makes sense. I'm happy to answer questions or clarify any of that. And I apologize, it's a bit messy. There is some work being done by Austroads to try to harmonize all of this. It's the real one where people or jurisdictions get parochial about how they do things, but anyway, that's okay. Okay, so let me just contextualize road safety in what I would call the road safety assurance in road infrastructure lifecycle process. This looks like a messy little diagram. Don't get too concerned about it. What we're seeing here are the infrastructure life cycle stages. So you've got, a road network or a corridor, and you do planning around that. You develop up programs, investment programs to upgrade things, to fix things, to change things. Then you go to specific projects and you develop up the scope of that project and whatever countermeasures you're going to, introduce. And then you get into the development and design. So you're starting to shape up that particular project once you've decided on what it is. Then you deliver it, you build it, and then the project is finished and open, and then you operate that facility or that road or whatever it is, and you maintain it. Okay. So across all of that life cycle, we have lots of ways to inject safety into that practice. And when I say safety, I'm predominantly talking about the safety of road users. Okay. The safety of workers, so those working on the road and the like, that's a slightly different beast. I mean, there's a lot of legislation, a lot of requirements, a lot of specifics around that and assessment techniques. We overlap and have an interest in that as road safety auditors, but our predominant interest is around the death and serious injury we see for the traveling public. Sometimes it interfaces, but we've got these safe system principles which overarch everything. Safety and design does really interface with the occupational health and safety aspects of things. And then we've got movement in place, or one network framework in New Zealand, in the overarching entity, and then movement in place. That's something worth getting your head around and doing a bit of reading on and watching a few videos if you're not aware of that. And of course, speed zone reviews and things like that. But we get into these things which we call proactive techniques. Network safety reviews and the like, but here you can see road safety auditing is where we enter into that. Sorry, I should include the feasibility road safety audit there. Actually, include them all, don't I? Only thing is that in New Zealand, we won't include an existing road safety audit. That's not a CALDA road safety audit. If you've got an existing road out there and you're looking at it, that would be some sort of safety review, or maybe a crash reduction study or the like. There's a few other techniques available. Some of these predictive techniques, ANRAM, OSRAP, IRR, safe system assessments sort of fit in there. Now we're seeing this sort of cool interface for New Zealand happening. And then we've got reactive techniques. Now, reactive techniques are those crash reduction studies, crash investigations, crash reviews. And that's an important differentiation there. Road safety audits are proactive. Okay, we don't need crash history to do a road safety audit. We just look at what we think might happen. So we'll get into that. I think I better give a prize out, I think. Got here ANRAM, OSRAP. There's a thing called Kiwi RAP. What does that stand for? First person to put that correctly into the chat can win a prize. Kiwi, well, you don't need to tell me what Kiwi stands for because it's not an acronym. RAP, what's the RAP? It's like Bruce just in there quickly with the Kiwi Road Assessment Program. Well done. Oh, geez, we've got a good group there. Lots of people popping it in there. Yeah. So that is the way that you would star rate a road. So you have energy star ratings for your fridge and your washing machine. Well, we can star rate a road or a design on its safety performance or how we expect it to perform. Just, 1 star to 5 star. And that's, the road assessment program, international program, part of the IRAP suite of road safety assessment programs. Happy to chat to anybody about that if they have a particular interest. So it's as easy as that to win a prize. Well done, Bruce. You're on the board. Okay. Common road safety audit misunderstanding. And this is the big one. A road safety audit or a safe system audit, as New Zealand is moving to now, is not a check against standards. It's not a standards review. It's not a check, have they conformed with the documented guidelines and standards? And the reason for that is standards do not necessarily equal safety. Okay, that can be a pretty good starting point, and often the people who have developed the standards or the guidelines have had safety very integrated into their thinking. But there are many examples out there where either the standards have inherent deficiencies in them for one reason or another. They could be very old. They could be, have been developed with very much a focus on something else. Also, standards combining, it's just impossible to forecast and think through the number of options of how your standards interact. And thirdly, often a standard has never been applied in the particular context that you're looking at. So all of these mean that we can't just simply say it meets standards, thus it is safe. And in fact, our role as road safety auditors or safe system auditors is to come in and, regardless of standards and guidelines and documents that say this or that, look at it and comment if we have a concern that it may present death or serious injury to the community. And if it meets all of the documented standards and guidelines and the like, you are still obligated to comment on it if you have that concern. Likewise, if it does not meet standards, okay, you're looking at something and you go, this doesn't meet standards, that doesn't necessarily mean you put it into your audit report. You have to be concerned that not meeting that standards is going to result in death or serious injury. And if you go, actually, it doesn't meet standards, but this is wonderful, I'm very comfortable and happy with that, doesn't go in your audit report. Now, I say that it doesn't need to go into your audit report. You'll often put a little note somewhere in the back of your audit, in appendix or something like that, just to note, this doesn't actually meet standards and guidelines. However, the auditors, believe it will provide a safe outcome. That is a really common misconception, and it is because of that word, audit. What does audit conjure up in people's mind? It conjures up the tax audit or the financial audit, where they come in, have you complied with old tax legislation, financial legislation, documented code, and all of that. Okay, that's not really what this is. And in fact, audit was probably, well, it had some advantages as a term when they decided to use it back in the day, about 30 years ago. It's caused us some trouble in that sense of people just thinking it's a check against standards. Anyway, as long as you, as a road safety auditor or a safe system auditor, have that clear in your mind, and when you talk to your clients or those that you're undertaking safe system audits for are very clear, we're okay. Let's have a look at a live example from a few years back. So this is a major new motorway that was built. Billions of dollars invested, new motorway, and Now, within a few months of it opening, we saw a large vehicle here part the lane, breach the barrier system, and collide with the gantry there. Driver was killed. And you sort of think, geez, it's a brand new road. They had like some of the world's best road designers, highway designers on this from the big multinational, design houses and the like. And how can this happen? And I suppose we as auditors need to be the ones to come in and sort of question a few things. But I'll ask you a question. We'll see. I'm going to jump straight into real technical detail here. You've got a barrier system here, right? It's a wire rope safety barrier system, this one. Now, hypothetically, if this was a test level 4, TL4 barrier system, okay? MASH, we'll call it a MASH TL4. Now, some of you are going, what on earth is he talking about? That's okay. We've got a MASH TL4. Anybody know what weight of vehicle that MASH TL4 barrier has been tested with to contain? What's the weight of the vehicle? Are we talking, 100 kilograms? Are we talking 1,000 kilograms? Are we talking 100 tons? Are we talking 500 tons? Okay, we're getting some guesses in. Okay. Right. So I'm going to give here. Oh, this is excellent. Oh, we've got some barrier fanatics in the group. That's good. I'm a barrier nerd myself. I do enjoy my barrier systems. There's a lot of technical detail around them. I'm going to give Kurt a prize just for being so precise. It was incorrect in his first guess. He got his second guess right, but he went with a NCHRP 350 TL3 for the first one. Or is that the MASH one? Oh, now I'm having a little thought. Anyway, the answer is 10 tons. So Matt gets a prize as well. Matt was the first one in. 10-ton truck. Okay. Now, see, the thing here is that 10-ton truck is what we can expect this barrier to contain. Okay. So let's go and have a look at what that is. There's the 10-ton truck. Tested. That's the test vehicle. So they drive it at that. It's actually 100 kilometers an hour. And they see, does the barrier contain that? And then there's a whole lot of other metrics that they use that it has to pass. There's an exit envelope and all sorts of other bits and pieces. But essentially, TL4 barrier system, we know that, okay, well, that is what we can expect it to contain under test conditions. This truck is going to be way, way, way bigger than that. That'll be 36 ton or something with its connection. And we couldn't really expect that barrier system to contain it. It may perform in that way. Okay. But the thing is that this setup with the barrier system, offset to hazard, met all standards, all guidelines. Okay? Everything was met. But some member of our community has been killed. What we have to try to do as safe system auditors, road safety auditors, is to predict this before it happens. And in fact, to predict this when it's a design on paper or in CAD. Look at this and say, okay, they're putting a barrier system in there. And what type of barrier system? They're putting a TL4. Okay, that's going to contain about a 10-ton truck. Okay, and what if it breaches that? Where's it going to go? And then you go, well, what's the chance it's going to breach it? How many large vehicles have we got? If this is on a local road, well, we go, well, there's not going to be large vehicles, and they're also not going to have the speed up to do that, are they? but this is a major new motorway. It's carrying a lot of trucks. It's breached that. Then we've got this thought about, well, what's the severity of that incident when it does occur? Well, we've had that death, so that's tragic. What if that had come down? Come down across the motorway, and we would have seen potentially a lot more death as well. Anyway, I just use this to highlight that, you know, we met standards, or somebody met standards and guidelines, no worries. The auditor's job is to go in and just look at that from another perspective. Now, those who are freaked out about MASH, TL4, all of that sort of technical discussion that we were having, don't worry too much, because a road safety auditor does not work alone. A road safety auditor works in teams, and we work as a team. Safe system audit or a road safety audit, they are done in teams. And if you have a job that has barrier systems involved in, you know, significant amounts, and there's barrier design in there, and you're not a person who knows this background or knows, you know, where to easily grab that information and look at bits and pieces and contextualize that and understand it, well, you're going to link yourself up with somebody who does know that. You know, I'm already seeing some people in this group who I'm saying, well, they're knowing their kit. Obviously, he's somebody who knows his barrier stuff, so he'd be a great person to link up with and be part of your audit team if you've got barriers involved. And I see a few others there. Glenn, definitely, you know, so you've got people that you can reach out to and grab and form a team and have this wonderful interaction. Because you don't have specific barrier knowledge doesn't mean you can't add value to a road safety audit. You can ask questions, you can look at it logically, you can ask about other things. You know, what if a vehicle breaks down here? Where are people going to go? Is it obvious where the exits are? How close are those exits together? Is that going to be hard to get on, to get off? You know, lots of just common sense questioning and value. Random extra questions for the barrier fanatics out there. What does MASH stand for? I'll let that brew for others. Let me give you another example. Now, I should have said, we do give you a stretch break, fill the coffee up break about halfway through, depending on how I'm going. So we'll give you 3 or 4 minutes there to do that.
A few people are coming through with some answers, Ken.
So good. It is the manual for assessing safety hardware. So Glenn in there first. Gee, Matt was just, it's got to be just an internet speed thing between those two, I think. And some others coming in very closely after. I kind of think Emma Joe might be worthy of a prize for completely going off into another industry altogether with the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, and going into some good old TV shows, which I'm sure there's people in this group who are too young to even know what we're on about. Anyway, okay. So here's another example. And I mean, I think you're getting your head around this, but I need to hammer this home so much because anybody who comes out of this course and goes and just checks projects against standards and guidelines, that is absolutely not what a safe system auditor or a road safety auditor does. So I need to give you lots of examples. This one is a massive new subdivision. We're talking huge. We're talking thousands of apartments, shopping center, not a full shopping center, like, yeah, smallish. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's massive. Okay, and it's accessing onto the public road network. And associated with that, there's some duplication of the road happening and all sorts of other things. Okay, so part of this is a new intersection here. Okay, a signalized intersection. There's an existing signalized intersection up here. And so let's zoom in on that red square bit. Okay, so here we go. And you might be a road safety auditor and you're given this design to look at. And what you're trying to do is predict the, you know, what's it going to look like when it's built? And then how are the road users going to use it? And then How are they going to fail? How are they going to crash? What are they going to see? Where are they going to get confused? What crazy things are they going to do to get, in or out of this subdivision, or go to where they wanted to go? Or, what is their, what are the pedestrians going to do? What are the cyclists going to do? Okay, you're thinking about all of this stuff. But the one thing I want to just hone in on is, you see the little red square? That's our car. Now it's traveling along. This is a 60km/h speed zone. It's chugging along. Maybe it's going 62 or 63, right? That's what some people do. And it's chugging along, just wants to go straight. And, oh, I'm in a right turn lane, but I was in a straight lane. What's going on there? And this is what we term a trap lane. Now, depending on which jurisdiction you're in, it's surprising how many trap lanes appear on our network. Very well named thing, a trap lane, because it's exactly how you feel. You're driving along and, oh, I'm trapped. Now, we know that when you build a trap lane or you create a trap lane, we have an increase in side swipe and rear end crashes happening around that area. Okay, so why on earth would the designer here have designed a trap lane in? Well, they have some constraints, no doubt. And like designers highway and road designers are generally pretty good, especially if they're doing something of this size. They're going to have some competency, right? So I highly doubt they will have missed this. However, they will have major challenges probably associated with land acquisition, maybe with environmental challenges, cultural heritage. Their traffic modeling shows that they need to do that extra lane, but they can't quite move it around and fit it in. And so they've done this. Now, as a road safety auditor, all of those things, the challenges with land, the environmental, traffic modeling, to a degree, are not your problem. We just tell it as it is from a safety perspective. You build this, you'll have an increase in the chance of side swipe and rear end crashes. Back to them to make those decisions. Now, when I say to a degree, I mean, we are sympathetic to constraints, and we do try to get our head and understand and work with the designers and the project team to be beneficial and helpful, right? But if they say we can't get rid of that trap lane because we can't acquire any more land and we have to do this, so it's not a road safety issue, say, sorry, it is a road safety issue. You're making a conscious decision not to address it. And that is your prerogative as project managers and designers and road controlling authorities. But the auditor's job is to highlight the issue, and the issue is there. Okay. Now, this is an interesting one because Austroads discourages trap lanes. Doesn't quite go into actually saying thou shalt not ever build trap lane. Things like trap lanes should be avoided. Or, trap lanes should be avoided if possible, or something, very grey, non-specific. So there's an argument here to say, no, that meets standards. Okay, but our role's not to play in that space. It's just to say we're concerned about death and serious injury. We're concerned about crashes that could happen there. Okay, how are we going on time? Okay, doing good. Good group here. I'm loving the interaction. And this one, I'm going to require you to have some interactions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a video. The video is of a crash, so prepare yourself. However, the crash severity is not too bad. Now, I remind you here that a road safety audit is not a crash investigation, a crash study. We don't look at crashes and then work out our treatments for a road safety audit. The reason I play crashes in the course and we look at crashes in the course is for us to learn what's contributing to the chance of that crash, what's contributing to the severity of that crash. How do we look at a design and think, okay, that crash could happen here, even though this hasn't even been built. How can we try to adjust that design so we don't have that crash or it's less severe? So I'm going to play this crash and then I'm going to ask you, I'll play it a few times, and then I'm going to ask you to tell me what you think in the road environment, the physical infrastructure, the surrounding environment, what has contributed to the chance that this crash happened? Okay. So I'll play it a few times and I'll repeat that after, but I'm going to get you to put it in the chat. So we're looking at the back camera here, and then it'll move to the front camera as this car passes us. Now, there's a particular thing I want somebody to pick up here, and I will give a prize if somebody does pick that up. But I'm going to play it again, and what I'm looking for is you to say what factors in the road environment here are contributing to the chance of this crash. Okay, the physical environment, the surrounding area, and the like. Okay. So what are we thinking? We're seeing a few people put some stuff in. Thank you. Now let's keep it going. I'm going to play it a few times. I'll play it again while we wait. Oh, sorry, I paused it, did I? My bad. There's a lot of great comments in here. Nobody's quite picked up the exact thing that I'm looking for. Some people have sort of alluded to it. Okay. I'm going to give a prize here. Now, everything I'm seeing in here is worthy of, further investigation. But Sam in there, Sam Nee, has said the geometry of the road approaching the intersection can hide the intersection. Now, that's close enough to the one I'm looking for. Not quite exactly it, but there's some really interesting comments that have come in here. Wow, this is a good group. Emma, this is a good group.
Great group, Ken.
Mark them down as a good group.
Okay.
I'm not sure what we do with that information. Oh,
Everyone gets a sash, maybe.
Daryl's got a good one. Okay. There's actually there's multiple fascinating things in what people have said, and I want to talk to a few of them. The first one is that some people are confused as to whether this is a roundabout or a T intersection or a seagull intersection or something like that. And if you're confused looking at it, odds on some drivers will be confused as well. Your challenge is actually to do that from a design and predict people's confusion, but we do know that some intersection forms can be confused for other intersection forms. And that's, I do have a hidden example, which one day I dream I would have time in this first module to go to, which I definitely won't in this one. It is of some major intersection form of confusion. It's not actually a roundabout. Why do we get confused with roundabouts? Why do people get confused with roundabouts and some of these other intersection forms? Well, what does a roundabout sign look like? It looks exactly like a giveaway sign, by the way. What does our line marking on the approach to a roundabout look like? Well, it looks pretty much like that as well. So anyway, that is actually a subtle insight into what auditors should be trying to do, is put yourself in the shoes, or in the saddle or in the driver's seat of a driver who's unfamiliar with the intersection or the changed form of the intersection, doesn't know the area, is half asleep, and what could they misinterpret? What could they see that's a bit different? Now, we had some people picking up the, signage clutter, blocking signs. We had people talking about the vegetation. Do we have appropriate sight distance? We had some people questioning, should the lights have been on at these? Those are all really worthy things as road safety auditors to pick up. You're going to have to make a determination whether those are of enough magnitude to warrant making it to your audit report. Okay, well, that's a bit of a line that you've got to draw, and there's a little bit of personal opinion with it. You have a small little crack in the pavement with a little bit of a lip up there that somebody might trip on. Is that going to make your audit report? Well, no, it's not. That's not big enough to make the audit report. Okay, that's not going to present us with death and serious injury, or the chance of that is sort of 1 in a million that it'll actually result in death or serious injury. So it's not going to make our audit report. Sight distance. Okay, now we're talking something that could be more, more meaty. Lighting, what's the timing of our lighting, those sorts of things. But what I want to talk about, and the one that Sam sort of alluded to, is as you approach this intersection, the geometry of the road and the geometry of the continuing road gives us a little bit of an impression that potentially our road continues on through. And there's a term that we use, and it's called visual deceit. Okay, in auditing, we talk about visual deceit. And this is a case of, a potential case of visual deceit. The road continues straight through. And then there are these factors, and these are human factors, things that exacerbate the visual deceit and this see-through effect. And these are classics. The line of power poles, and they will run straight through. There'll often be a line of trees that runs straight through. And so what you have is drivers approaching this, and unfortunately, but it's the reality, not all drivers are absolutely 100% alert. They're often thinking about the fight they had with their partner. Maybe they've worked a double shift, maybe, whatever it is. There's thousands of states of consciousness of people driving. Gee, we'd love everybody to be absolutely alert and compliant, but don't get yourself in that mindset, because, it's ridiculous. It's just not reality. So these factors then play this role, which a driver will never be able to articulate to you, but the studies are done and show that that's influencing them to be confused or to feel that their road continues on. And it's just too late where they pick up that, oh, actually, I had to stop here. I've got 2 giveaway signs, but the road geometry is not helping at all in this situation. And that is what we refer to as visual deceit. The road environment, the geometry, has deceived the driver into misinterpreting the requirements of the road. That's another classic road safety audit theme or phenomenon that you need to look at. So you've got to try to, predict that visual deceit. We see it a lot at Y intersections on the rural road network. The see-through effect continuation is rife, and one of the reasons why Y intersections are so horrible. I'll just draw that quickly, just in case people are wondering what is he on about with these Y intersections. We're going to do this. Okay, Y intersection. That's not the best drawn Y intersection. Probably go down like that. Okay, well, a driver approaching from the bottom here, they see straight through here, and then you've got, usually the road's down here, you got the trees, and they just line up like that, and there's probably trees along here. Everything just looks like you go straight through, right? And what happens is the driver's half asleep, they get to there and they realize, oh, no, that's not right. Got a vehicle coming around there at 100 kilometers an hour. We see a pretty bad incident, and that's one of the reasons why Y intersection is bad. The other is that coming out of here, nobody slows down, and the angle of the look out there is bad, and we have some, anyway. So that is that. I mean, you were all bringing up some really good things to look at further in terms of, and I'm not going to get through everybody's wonderful comments, advanced signage, ways, speeds, the width of the intersection. These are all great things to look at. I just wanted to sort of give you that insight into thinking beyond simply what you can see, but, trying to imagine what others might perceive this intersection as, or this intersection that's about to be built, because you'd be looking at a design. But we don't stop there as auditors. And we'll say, well, now what is influencing the severity of this crash? Okay, so we've got now the chance of the crash happening, signs, lines, visual deceit, sight distances, advanced warning, lighting. Now, how bad is it going to be? And we've seen speed already be popping in there, so well done. So speed of these vehicles, mainly speed of these vehicles, they're the bullet vehicles, the one that does the damage. So that's going to be a big factor. And then the frangibility of this pole. So that pole breaks away on impact, doesn't it? That car hits it, it breaks away. It's a weird little thing where the top falls off it. Not something I've seen a specific design like that, but I'm not actually that concerned about that at all. But anyway, some people get really concerned by that when they see it. They're thinking, but I would say that the choice to use a frangible light post at this location has most likely prevented a serious injury, if not death, for the occupant of that vehicle. And that was a design decision. Somebody's made that decision. Could have been an auditor involved making that or pushing that. But the ability for that car to dissipate energy over that distance, and kinetic energy is a really interesting one. Small amounts of extra time to dissipate the kinetic energy in a crash give amazingly big safety severity improvements. So I think that's a really interesting point. So I'll just cover off the different slip-based pole mechanisms, and then I'll give you a stretch break. So we're trying to find these crashes before they happen. We're going to try and stop them. So maybe changing the geometry, maybe offsetting the intersection so it doesn't have that see-through effect, maybe putting splitter islands in, advanced warning, opening up sight lines, getting rid of sign clutter, all of these things to make this less likely to happen. But we need to get ourselves in a headspace to say, even if we get all of that right, crashes still may happen. So how do we reduce the severity of these crashes? Okay, and now we're talking about a run-off road incident, and we're talking about using slip-based poles. And slip-based mechanisms, for those who aren't aware of them, is essentially you have a shear plane in your pole, and a vehicle that hits it, down here, up here probably, it shears it off. The torque there from the wind, goes onto the collar and the bolts, and it holds up to wind loads. Amazing bit of engineering. And we see that they are very surprisingly effective. Here's one out New Plymouth area. Obviously hit it with some speed, pushed it through the reassurance sign, and no injuries. Now, if that was a rigid pole, now I don't know the absolute details of this, but to get enough energy in to fling a slip-based light pole through a reassurance sign like this, there's some speed involved. And we're pretty sure that would result in death. I mean, just our knowledge of people running off the road and hitting fixed hazards, but no injuries. So again, we're seeing this management of energy as a critical element to that. And so as a road safety auditor, you'll be given plans, and they might look like this. You might get this lighting plan. We're going to change all these lights, and we're upgrading this intersection and the like. And you're going to, want to dig into looking at that and saying, oh, okay, that's interesting. They're going to use a slip-based pole at this location and this location, and they're going to use rigid poles here. And okay, that's interesting. Now, as a road safety auditor, maybe in this road environment, and you're looking at some of these light poles, and we're thinking, okay, well, we're worried about vehicles running off the road and hitting these poles, and we don't want them to wrap around the pole and have, death and serious injury to the occupants. What do you think as a road safety auditor are some other considerations you might have about using slip-based poles in these locations? Anybody want to pop that into the chat? Yes.
Wow, what a speedy group, Ken. Friend's very keen.
They are, and Dale got in there first. He's quick typer there, and he or she. Actually, I'm not sure I know Dale. So hello, Dale. They can fall on pedestrians, absolutely. And I actually like Peter's. I like Peter's comment as well there. So let's give a prize to Peter as well. Because Peter didn't just say pedestrians, sort of talk wider of what could it fall on? And that's the thinking, isn't it? Fall onto a pedestrian area, fall onto power lines, could fall onto other things. So we're thinking, holistically about that. So a couple of prizes there, and that's right. So I think that's a nice little point. I will cover off one other thing though, and I'm in a prize giving frenzy here, Emma. If anybody can tell me, okay, so we've got a slip-based pole. So frangible is a term that we use. It means to break away on impact. Okay, frangible is the overarching term. We have slip-based, which is what we looked at before. There is another type of frangible pole we talk about. If anybody can tell me that, I will give them a prize. Yeah, Daryl. Daryl's on the board. Energy absorbing or impact absorbing. So Daryl and Luke can have that. They're both terms that are used. Impact absorbing. The non-frangible would be just the rigid pole, but impact absorbing. Now, impact absorbing are the ones that crumple, that they don't shear off at the base, and in fact, they envelope in the vehicle. Okay, so if you are, in an environment that's lower speed, but you're still concerned with vehicle occupant safety around run-off road and striking point source hazards, which being your lighting columns and the like, you could look to an impact absorbing or an energy absorbing pole. But in high speed environments, you'll be looking at a slip-based pole. And in low speed environments where you've accepted that vehicle speeds won't be up to that point where we're having serious concerns about vehicle occupant injury striking them, you'd use rigid poles. So context is a very important thing as an auditor to understand that. We know the different options that are available. We're worried about vehicle occupant safety. We're also worried about poles falling in areas, and we're weighing all of this up. And so again, you're providing that assistance, that advice to the design team, the project manager, to say, this is what we believe is a risk. And here are some ideas for what you could think about changing. Two common findings. Road safety audit. Well, first is choice of slip-based, impact absorbing, rigid, where they will fall. And in a post-opening, I'm going to call this post-opening audit. So that is another audit, and I'm going to take you through the stages of audit, but basically just after something's been built, a road safety audit team can go in, check everything. Okay. One of the things we check there are the heights of the shear plane on slip-based poles. Okay, because occasionally we see these embedded in the ground or really high, and we just lose that. If they're embedded in the ground, they're really not going to do their job properly. If they're too high, a vehicle will snag on the bottom of it. So you can see their max is having a look at the height of that. Okay, great point for us to have a little stretch break. I'm going to give you 3.5 minutes, so quickish one, just because I got excited talking about a few things there. 3.5 minutes and back, and we'll get stuck into the rest of it. I'm going to get back into it in a second. Okay, Emma. A little shorter break there, but because I have a lot to cover, so I'm going to have to move a bit quicker through this bit to give you time to explain the assignment.
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Getting back into it. We've talked about proactive. Okay, the crash reduction study is the reactive. The road safety audit or safe system audit is that proactive. Should you look at crash history as part of a road safety audit or a safe system audit? Up to you. Absolutely up to you. Okay, you don't use the crash history to drive your audit, but if you want to have a look at it, you can. Some people argue that it's meaningless because you're looking at a design or an upgraded bit of road. What's the history got to do with it? It's completely changed since then. But others will say it might give you some context. I leave that up to you. Road safety audits are highly beneficial. Okay, safe system audits, we assume will be the same. They haven't been evaluated under their current form, but road safety audits have been. 36:1 benefit cost ratio for design stage, 6:1 for existing conditions. Now, as I say, New Zealand doesn't do existing conditions audits. The rest of the world kind of does. Same process, just looking at the existing road environment. Why do you think they're so much more valuable for design stage? Pop that into the chat. And I mean, 6:1 is a staggeringly good investment. You take 6:1 any day of the week, but 36:1 is outstanding. Yep, Sean, Sahan is first in there. Easy to make changes. Absolutely. Gee, it's easy to make changes, and people are willing to make substantial changes when it's lines on a design. When it's concrete that's been poured, or physical infrastructure is in place, yeah, they are not willing to make substantial changes usually. And so we end up with signs and line changes and the like, and they're not as effective. All right. There are around the world many, many definitions of what a road safety audit is. They all generally align, but there's all little nuances all over the place. Okay. Now, Part 6 has a big page-long definition, and I'm not going to read that out to you because what a boring thing that would be. You can read it yourself. Okay, it's in there, Part 6, page 4. I've put that into the learning management system. In fact, I put the whole guide in there so you can have a look at it. But what are these safe system audit guidelines, the new shiny version saying? Well, a safe system audit is a formal, robust technical assessment of a transport project associated with transport improvements and renewal projects that are completed by independent and qualified audit teams that consider the safety of all people, completed by applying safe system principles, whilst ensuring that the transport network operates as safely as practical by eliminating fatal and serious injury crash potential. A safe system audit is intended to support the delivery of a safe road system and is not a review of compliance with standards. Okay, some common themes there. Now, I like this definition. I think they've done well. I've pulled bits from, well, there's a lot of similarity with the Austroads documentation, but a few other really good things put in there. I'm going to talk in depth about some of this in next module, so I don't need to go into it now. Formal is important, robust, and technical, okay? Those are all important things. Independence is really important. I'll talk to you, what is independence? Basically, you can't have any, conflicting interest in this project, be a designer, be a project manager, be an investor, be, anything like that. Qualified? Well, you're in your process of getting some qualifications here. All road users, we talked about that. Safe system principles I'm about to talk about. And we've had a good discussion about a review against standards. Now, the safe system, I really love presenting this to New Zealanders because you're so aware of the safe system. It's got such good publicity and traction, so I don't need to go into it in detail. I'm happy to do that or send you like one of a million videos that have been produced about what is a safe system and the philosophy. And it is a sort of philosophy, but some important ones for us as auditors to take out these principles. Designing for human vulnerability, hugely important, because we need to start thinking about the energy in a crash and the vulnerability of humans. That also links with, we promote good choices, but plan for mistakes, plan for the crashes. And safety is a critical decision-making priority. So when we hand over our safety findings to a project team, a design team, a project upgrade team, or whatever it is, they need to consider those as critical decision-making factors. All right, quick quiz. Have we got a poll? I'm not sure if we've got a poll, Emma. If not, I'll just ask the question.
Yeah, we do. I'll launch it for you, Ken.
Awesome. All right, here we go. Oh, so hopefully that pops up on your screen. And what do we got there? 4 questions. Now, you are not marked on these. So just, have a quick crack at it. And we'll get back into it after that. You're not marked on this. We can't even tell who puts in what. So don't worry about it too much. Get your answers in. I'm not going to give you much time.
We need some thinking music. Like Jeopardy or something.
That would be a good idea. Let me see if I can find something. Is it coming through?
It is, yes.
It's nice thinking music, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, enough thinking music. 3, 2, 1. Let's end that poll. Okay. Audit is another name for check against standards. Yes, everybody's on it. False. Okay, you can audit your own designs. Almost everybody on that. Independent. I just said independence. Independence is important. That's your design. You can't audit it. Now, I didn't really go through those safe system principles in a lot of detail. And New Zealand has I really think a really elegant way of presenting them. And they're not those standard ones that we talk about. But which of these is not a common principle? We're not eliminating mistakes on the road. We're going to try and minimize mistakes on the road due to getting rid of confusing things and all the like. But the absolute elimination of mistakes, we identified that we've still got humans operating this system, and they make mistakes all the time. They're going to do stupid things and make mistakes and fall asleep and things. We don't want them to, but they will. So we're not aiming to eliminate those mistakes. Minimize and manage. That's what I want you to remember. Minimize and manage. Oh, Usain Bolt. Now, I've asked some of you this before, but what speed did Usain Bolt cross the finish line? And, gee, it's getting out there now. 44 kilometers per hour is the correct answer. I've got rid of that now. And why on earth am I asking you about Usain Bolt? Well, I need just to remind you about that energy involved in a crash. And I'm going to do that with the analogy of putting a car at the end of Usain Bolt's lane. And he runs down there and he bang, slams into that. 44 kilometers an hour. Will he be killed? No, because he's like a fridge. He's not. No, he's like a Hulk of a human. All right, us mere mortals, maybe we would be, yeah, chance of being killed. And this is the old collision speed. So speed of impact, not speed limit. Get that out of your mind. Collision speed. We're just talking physics now. Actually, we're talking biomechanics of injury. Fatality, chance of death. There's the population in blue. Car hitting pedestrian. There's the great man. He comes up quite high. But we know that around that 30 kilometers per hour is where things go really bad, really quickly, when cars coming in at 30 kilometers per hour or more strike pedestrians. This is what we're designed for. I play this in the Safe System Assessment course as well, because it's a good example of what the human body is built for, how we evolved. We evolved to run into stuff like that. He survives, he breaks a couple of ribs, comes back, wins the gold medal the next year. Yeah, that's what we're designed for. When we propel ourselves faster than that, not so much. Okay, or things come at us faster than that. Now we have this information, right angle crash, side impact, okay? Now, this vehicle here is the bullet vehicle, the one that does the damage, okay? This is what we call a target vehicle. Bullet vehicle speed down here. Bullet vehicle speed, target vehicle getting killed, the occupant of that, 50 kilometers per hour, right angle crash. That's about where we're at before it goes really bad, really quick. Head-on crashes, it's about 70 kilometers per hour. Now, both vehicles, bullet vehicles and target vehicles, and assume they're same weight, same mass, we're talking about a 70 kilometer per hour crash. If you were like, people often say, oh no, is that 70 each vehicle? Well, yeah, it is 70 kilometers per hour each vehicle. If they're same weight, same mass, okay, they come in 70 and they go to 0. So that's a 70 kilometer per hour crash, not 140 kilometer per hour crash. That would be required if it was like a massive, massive truck and a little smart car, and then, came in and push it back at 70, right? So that's the basic. Good Mythbusters episode on that. We'll try and dig that out and share it with you so you can watch Mythbusters on work time. That's always fun. That line of 10%, super important, okay? They're what we call safe system threshold speeds. 30, 50, 70. Remember those. Mark this page. You're going to need it. I've given it in a bit of a table with some extra ones, some intersections, head-on. So we've got vulnerable road users. So we've got cyclists, pedestrians. general sort of speeds we're thinking about. Okay, so the old road safety audit model basically went identify the issues, risk rate the issues, and make recommendations. There's a little bit more to it now in the safe system audit model that has just been released. There is a safe system assessment matrix. I am not going to teach you how to do a safe system assessment matrix in this course, okay? There's some information online on how to do it. If you want to be able to do it properly, you need to go to, come to our training course on that, or the Safe System Engineering workshop, which is the big week, which is just finished, I think, last week in New Zealand. But there's a lot, there's just too much in it to do it integrated into this.
Can the questions come through just about this? What about rear end crashes?
In terms of here, yeah. So rear end crashes, there's not a lot of research and information. There's a guy out of the Centre for Automotive Safety Research in the University of Adelaide currently just finishing off his PhD with some extra crash information and crash forces. We tend to take, because you've got that, ability for that vehicle to move forward, and we've got headrests and the like. We tend to, as a little bit without a huge amount of detail, just take around the 70 that is head-on / rear end. But that's not as well evidenced as head-ons, okay? So we'll just, as we get more information, we might update it. But 70, now, of course, this is actually delta V. What does delta V mean? It's change in velocity, okay? So if you have a vehicle that's traveling along at 100 kilometers per hour, and one that's traveling at 90, and it rear ends that, well, delta V is only 10, isn't it? Okay, and that's not going to be severe. So you can factor that in as well. Okay, so we're still going to identify issues. We're going to risk rate the issues. We're going to make recommendations, and then we're going to categorize treatments. Now, there's a little bit more packed into our risk rating issues to talk about some of those biomechanics of injury tolerance levels we just talked about. Like anything, the best way to learn this is through examples, and then you actually just doing it and having a crack at it and learning as you go. Okay? So here's the example. New intersection being built. And you can see there's the design. You're having a look at it as a road safety auditor. And you imagine it being built and you go, okay, it's going to look something like this. And now we're having a think about, okay, what crashes could happen here? Right. The vehicle comes along, that truck's turning left. Okay, we'll see that white car. When that white car's gone, this car's going to go probably because, it's all looking good. And then they make the decision and, oh, where'd this one come from? Okay, it had been masked. It had been hidden the whole time behind that white truck. You see? Can't see it. Can't see it. There it is. That is a common crash scenario. We have a left turn lane added. We know the issue. It's there. It's high speed. Okay. So how do we articulate this and present it as an audit finding? Okay, I've written this one up, and I'm not going to read it in detail here, but there's a few things I want you to take away out of this. One is a diagram, a snip of the design, a photo, something visual. It just makes people's life so much easier. I don't even need to read all of that text to know what the issue is. I can see it. I go, yeah, I know what the issue is. Okay. but we do write it up as well in a specific way. And I have, over my 20 odd years of auditing and teaching auditing, and finally in the past 5 years come up with a way to formularize this, at least for people starting out to audit, just to make it easier. So, like, I got this from, having reviewed these audits and marking them and saying, that's a good one. No, you haven't done it well enough. I really like this one. And I said, okay, I've got to work out, why do I really like these ones and why do I not like these ones? And I've worked it out and I've got my formula. Some people like to call it a recipe. But I'll tell you now, the clients very much like this as well. So anybody who's receiving the report is craving this as well. So the recipe formulas are, what is the issue? So you've got to articulate that issue. What is the crash that you are concerned about? And it doesn't matter if it's so blindingly obvious to you what the crash is, you need to write it. What are any factors that may alter the risk? And then, are there any standards or guidelines that may support or not support this or whatever it is? And you're just sort of commenting on those. You don't need to put that purple in there because it's not a check against standards. It just sometimes that they are very relevant. So in this one, we say for the intersection, blah, 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 vehicles using the left turn lane may create a dynamic visual obstruction for motorists at the hold line that are looking for through vehicles. Dynamic visual obstruction is a common term we use. It means, a visual obstruction that is moving or is not always there. In yellow, this increases the likelihood of right-through side impact crashes involving vehicles turning out of the side road. Clear, spelt out. Okay, even though it should be obvious, but hey, we have to spell it out. The volume of vehicles on both roads is low, which brings the risk down. However, the proportion of larger vehicles turning left is high, which increases the chance of the dynamic visual obstruction occurring. The design is consistent with current Austroads and VicRoads design guidance. The auditors still believe this presents a safety issue. So, that doesn't need to be said, but that's kind of trying to safeguard against this being handed over and the designer is simply saying, meets Austroads or meets Wakakatahi intersection standard drawing 17A or whatever it is, right? We're saying, hey, we know that this meets the standards. Still concerned. So then we need to risk rate this, okay? Anybody know the formula for risk for me? What is the international formula for risk? While we do that, I'll just check. I think there's a question in here.
There is a question. When is an RSA required versus a SSA? i.e., is this dictated by the RCA, or if we were asked by the district council to do an RSA, should we recommend an SSA?
What a great question.
Yes.
And this is where it's getting messy and murky. So what I would do is say, thank you for asking me to do a road safety audit. Wakakatahi has just released the Safe System Audit Guidelines. Here is a copy. We would like to follow the current practice. Are you okay with that? And if they say yes, then off you go and proceed with that Safe System Audit following those guidelines. Now, if you go, well, I actually haven't done the Safe System Assessment course, so I don't know how to do that. Just find somebody who has, bring them into your team. So who put likelihood versus consequence, or likelihood times consequence first? Callum, it looks like.
Callum.
All right, prize there. So yeah, likelihood times consequence, frequency times severity, international definition of risk. What's the chance bad thing is going to happen? How bad it's going to, what's the magnitude of badness? Well, what's the risk of recession? Well, what's the chance we go into recession? And how deep a recession are we going into? That's the risk of recession. And in road safety, you know, what's the chance of crash? How bad's the crash going to be when it does happen? Risk of crash. And Walker Qatar here has now released their new risk matrix. So a lot of you will be very comfortable with risk matrices because we use them all the time in risk assessment, risk management, occupational safety, all sorts of things. What is the chance of crash and how bad is it going to be? Then, once you've made your decisions on that, you find the corresponding risk in the table here. Okay? Unlikely, minor, minor risk. Very likely, minor, moderate risk. Fatal, very unlikely, significant risk. Okay? There is this safe system threshold line because that's what we're talking about. Anything to the right of that line, we're saying that is what we are absolutely trying to eliminate under the New Zealand road safety strategy, the safe system aspirations, the Vision Zero. It's all about fatal and serious injuries. We don't want, but we're kind of accepting minor and non-injury crashes because they're not lifelong debilitating, people recover, but we don't want them, but we'll accept them if we need to. Serious and fatal, unacceptable. Now, you'll see there that there's a bit of information in here about, well, what is a fatal? Okay, well, fatal does sound like it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Death. Well, it's death within 30 days of a crash, actually. Serious injury, there you go. It's got some more information about that. What's minor injury, what's property damage and non-injury. But then we don't have like good definitions of what is very likely, likely, unlikely, and the like. And it's not in the new safe system audit guidelines by Walker Qatar. It gives you no more information around that probability. It actually gives you even further information around severity because we have all that safe system guidance and biomechanics of injury guidance and the like. But there was an old document, Walker Qatar document, that did give us some insights, and we can continue to sort of use this as a bit of a gauge. If we're expecting this crash to happen once a year or more frequent than that, we're putting in very likely. If we're thinking it's, one every 10 years or more, very unlikely. They're not in the official guidance, all right? But there is nothing. So I'm going to give you those as a little bit of help. We'll be thinking about that threshold line again. There it is again. So what we do is we say, okay, we've got this crash we've conjured up in our mind. We're predicting it's going to happen. We go to our risk table and we say, well, we think it's very unlikely. I mean, it's got to be you've got to have exactly the right timing on it. You've got to go the vehicle turning. You've got to have the fact that this driver's, going to make that call, even though they haven't been able to see. We know the volume's low. I'm actually going to call this very unlikely. The severity, though, is going to be fatal. Okay, it's up there we've got 100 km/h road here. We're going to have a side impact crash. It's so far beyond what we can tolerate. And so the resulting risk is significant. And you can see that. And you color it the same as this color. And so it's all very clear. Then we need to start to make some recommendations. How do we change this intersection design to lessen the chance of this happening or the severity of this happening or both, so that resultant risk comes down? We have many ways we can do that. Many, many ways we could do that. Okay. And how do we decide? How do we help the designer and the project manager decide this? Well, we have two categories we use: primary treatments or supporting treatments. Now, these are buckets, these are categories, and I'm not going to give you a whole lot of detail at this stage on it. If you want, you can actually delve into the Safe System Assessment Framework, which is, as I say, the other course, but it actually just has a whole list of treatments and whether they're primary or supporting. But primary treatments are our big, step change treatments. They're things that are really going to virtually eliminate death and serious injury as a result of, this foreseeable crash that we've predicted. Supporting treatments are things we know that are good road safety treatments, but they're not going to eliminate death and serious injury. And so we make some recommendations. Now, you might make one recommendation, you might make multiple recommendations. In this case, we've said implement measures to reduce the speed and angle at this intersection. This could be achieved with a roundabout, and that's a primary treatment. Why is that primary? Because we know that these crashes between passenger vehicles exiting here, we virtually eliminate them with these side impact death and serious injuries when we put in a roundabout. There's other crashes and other road users we need to consider, absolutely. But for that particular right angle type crash, we've virtually eliminated death and serious injury as a result. Now, if this cannot be achieved, implement measures to improve sight lines in this location, increasing the offset of the left turn lane, supporting, relocating the hold line forward, provided it can be done safely, supporting. Okay. Some people really want to call those primary. And I'll quickly do this because I know I'm out of time. If you've got a sight line, say this is a car parking spot, right? And you've got a road exiting. And you make an audit concern about, well, the sight lines are going to be blocked and we're worried about that crash happening. Audit recommendation, get rid of that car park. Okay. That is a supporting treatment, not a primary treatment. But you go, well, hang on, it's eliminated the issue, hasn't it? You go, yeah, it's eliminated the sight distance issue. It hasn't eliminated that crash type at the speed that it could happen and the severity. That crash type absolutely still exists. Okay. Yes, we've reduced the chance, but it's still there at the speed and the severity that it is. Okay. So if you took away the left turn lane altogether here, right, you'd eliminate that dynamic visual obstruction, but that crash could absolutely still happen. So it's just a supporting treatment. Don't worry if that's a little bit confusing at this stage. You'll get practice on this and you'll practice and it'll be good. Just happens in some of these locations. We're seeing a bit of that. You can add your bike lane in as a nice buffer separator. Sometimes it's not a primary treatment. It's a pretty good way to do it. Little tip, to be categorized as a primary treatment, it either needs to address the consequence of the crash, get it within those biomechanically tolerable levels, or it needs to, somehow absolutely remove the possibility of that crash, grade separation or others. So with the new Safe System Audit Guidelines, the template has been updated, the RSA template and has been updated. It's now an SSA template. But within that, you're still going through the same process. And it's got a nice things. It's got drop-down menus. So you can get to your risk, drop down, and put your resulting risk in. We are going to get you to use this template when you go out and do a mock road safety audit for us near your house or your office or wherever you told us. And so you'll get some practice using it. Okay, here's an example of what I would say is a poorly worded audit finding. And in fact, if you put this finding in when you submit your audit, you won't pass the course. Right turn bay is too narrow. Okay, which right turn bay? Why is that an issue? What's the crash that could happen? I'm not getting any info. In fact, I don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, fair right turn bay from main road to side road is too narrow. Okay, at least we know where we're talking about. Increases potential for side swipe or rear end crashes. Okay, I've got a crash type now. And Austroad's design guide states the minimum traffic lane, which should be 3.3 minutes. Okay, we've got some more info. Here we go. We're into a much better, much more comprehensive, well-articulated audit finding. This is excellent. This is what we want to see from people. It's got a snip of the design. I can easily see, oh, I know exactly which lane we're talking about, the right turn lane in this new set of traffic signals. Okay, I've got my issue well articulated, presented the crash, risk factors, standards and guidelines, if applicable. In this case, the audit issue we found actually is something that doesn't meet standards. So we say it, and that's fine too. And we're worried about a crash that could happen, and it doesn't meet standards. So just a few things here. Road safety audits are not, they're not, you know, just a quick site inspection, or, you know, they're not a existing road check, substitute for a black spot or crash investigation. They're not a safe system assessment, although now they're sort of combined in New Zealand. The road safety auditors are really problem finders, okay? So that is our primary role, find the issues. Solving the issues is actually the project manager and the designer and then, you know, project engineer's responsibility. We can provide advice and assistance and help in that, but that's their responsibility. You can audit anything, big projects, small projects, urban, rural, even, you know, off-road shared paths, cycleways. Everything can go through this process, and I'll take you step by step through that process. Here's an interesting example. I think it's a relevant example, and I do want to just spend a minute or two taking you through it. In fact, I'll give a prize out, of course, because I'm going nuts with prizes today. Here's a road, sealed road, unsealed road, intersection, high-speed intersection. The local government has got some funding and local controlling authority, and they are going to seal and formalise that unsealed road. And in fact, there you go. It's been done. The sealing and formalising, they had some really good designers. They used the existing design documentation, guideline standards, and they are doing upgrades. This is all upgrades, improving, you know, curbing and everything, improvements and the like. And they elected not to do road safety audits because they're like, well, we're doing an improvement here. This is all making everything better. Now, I want you to tell me what factor has contributed to the 2 fatal crashes and 6 serious injury crashes that occurred in the 4 years basically after they did this upgrade. Yes. Okay. This is excellent. So I think, Emma, you're going to have to work through this. I think the first one, I think, was Peter. East to west may appear to be a through road. And then, so that's a prize there. But then the first person who used the term visual deceit, they can have a prize as well, because that's it. So anybody coming from this way, and in fact, 5 of those crashes occurred now from this direction. It was kind of obvious from that the road didn't continue through, and now they come from this way, and it kind of looks exactly like it does go through. In fact, that's it from that direction. Okay, it was kind of obvious it didn't, and then now it's not. Visual deceit, power poles, front of trees, straight alignment. Yeah, it's so the moral of that story is that when people say, no, we're just improving the area, it still should be subject to a safe system audit or road safety audit. It still should be, okay? Because we are the independent eyes that look at it and identify things that may be missed. So what are the types of road safety audit, safe system audit that can happen? So we can do audits at different stages of the design, the concept, preliminary, or detail. And when it's been built, just before the ribbon is cut, or if it's a brownfield site with live traffic, just quickly after it's open, there's that check that can be done. Okay, they're the ones that we do. Roadworks have their own sort of beast in New Zealand, and I'll sort of put that aside for now. It's a different process. It can be done, you can follow this, but there's sort of some slight nuances and difference. So these feasibility concept stage are often done on big projects, and there's alignment, these big sort of alignment plans and these sort of things, and you're looking at intersection form. How are people from up here going to get down here? And, what's the spacing of these interchanges? Is that okay? And you think big picture stuff, aren't you? Into preliminary, and you might have this on an aerial base or a survey base, and you're starting to get some more detail around, okay, that's how it fits, that's where things are. Then the detailed design. Well, this is where you get the full, the full lot. You get the long section, the cross sections, you get the pavement plan, the signage plan, the lighting plan, the signal phasing. And you've got to pour through all of those documents and get your head around what's going to be built, what's it going to look like, are there any issues that we can predict, how is that going to work? These take a long time, and they do need a technical eye often to be able to interpret what is happening. Construction stage I talked about, that I'll jump past that to the pre-opening, which is where you look at, okay, what did they build? Is it all looking good? Are there any things that have appeared that we didn't expect? Have they forgotten anything? Did they get the correct colored RRPMs in the right spot? Have they done the overlap of the barrier the correct way? Did they achieve the offsets to hazards from the barriers? All these sorts of things. Are the signs all correct? So quick one, here we go. You've asked to do a post-opening. Look, they've just finished the works. They've opened the road. Anybody see the issue first? One, to see any, issues here. I think Stacey will get that prize. So the generic, but yes, the line marking, lane marking, straight and left. Holly was in there actually articulating the particular issue, so Holly can have a prize as well. Yes, I mean, this lane's turning left, this lane's got straight ability as well. These are the kind of things you want to pick up, like, yeah, that's just an error, and they've forgotten to re-line mark it all the way. You can see there. So there are these things also called thematic audits. They have a theme, a cycling audit, a walking audit, a motorcycle audit. And you really need to be in that road user's shoes or connect with those road users. Cycling's pretty easy. Most people ride a bike. So you get out there and you ride the area and you ride the area they're going to upgrade, or the bike path, or whatever it is. Walking the same, much good. Everybody can get out there and walk. Motorcycling, there's less people on motorcycles, but you can just link up with a motorcyclist and get up their helmet so they talk to you in the trailing car and get that information. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Okay, Emma, I skipped through that a little bit quicker at the end there because I wanted to give time to explain this wonderful assignment we've got for people. And it should just be a bit of fun and not too time consuming. And I will take any questions that have arisen that I need to deal with. The challenge here, or the assignment, I shouldn't say challenge because, well, you're going to have to do it if you want to successfully complete this course. You will be given a random topic, and it'll be a road safety related topic of some description. And we're going to ask you to research that topic. And then we want you to create something. A short video, a fact sheet, a cartoon, a a TikTok, an interpretive dance, anything that you want that can give some information on this topic that is relevant to us as road safety auditors, that we might be able to go, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that presents a safety issue, or okay, I understand a little bit more about that specific topic. Okay, we want it related back to road safety, and really road safety, auditing. Oh my gosh, it's hard to write with my finger on a screen, but so we're going to give prizes out for the most creative way of presenting that, the most technically sound, and the most engaging. Now, really, we wouldn't expect you spending more than half an hour on this, okay? Some people might want to, and that's okay, but that would be your choice. Like really some Googling, some gathering of information, quick review of it, put something together, fact sheet, little podcast recording, whatever it is, upload that, and you're done. We will be sharing all of these in the learning management system so others can have a look at these topics. The reason we do this is that there are just so many things out there that we just do not have time to cover. And this will give you a little insight into one of them, but it'll also give others the ability to watch something fun or exciting, or look at your cartoon, or have a look at a nice fact sheet that conveys that information in a nice consumable way. Okay. Now, here are the topics, but Emma's used our super generator to allocate, and I'm about to hand over to Emma, and she's going to take you through that, and then the learning management system, how you upload it. But you can see some pretty cool topics here. Some we've already talked about, dynamic visual obstruction, Y intersections a bit, but lots we haven't. And what I want you to do, Google it, try and find info on it. If you get stuck, you contact me. I'll point you at some stuff, okay? And have a bit of fun with it. All right, we've seen some amazing little videos, podcasts, great fact sheets, cartoons, some pretty creative cartoons done in the past. And looking forward to seeing what comes in. Over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Ken. What a great session. Everyone's so enthusiastic and dynamic. It's been really, really, really fun from my end. Okay, I've used our special topic generator already before we started the session. And what I'll do is I'll email everyone's topic out as soon as we finish. So I can get on to, there's a question come through.
I'll have a look at the questions.
Okay, no worries. So I'll just share my screen and show you our learning management system. Make sure I'm actually choosing the right thing. There we go, you can see that. So this is our learning management system. I'm sure many of you have done programs with us already, so you're pretty familiar with our platform. So this is where all the pre-course content is and everything. And now we have module 1. So you'll see that we have some extra resources, the slides from today's session, if you'd like to review the content, your quiz, where you will answer your Wally question about how many Wallies were there and other questions about today's session, and your research topic. So this is where you will upload your video of your interpretive dance or your sketch comedy set with information about it. That'd be great, wouldn't that? Or whatever creative way you are going to share your research topic with us. So all you have to do is click on the research topic, and then there's further information there about what to do. Why isn't it showing me how to submit it? For some reason, research topic. Usually you would click on it and then you would just drop.
I think it's because,
I'm in as a student, so that's very strange. Okay, that's okay. Let me just go back. Research topic. That's interesting. Let me just check. I'll just change it back to my normal role. So maybe that will show me. Yeah. So it gives usually, this is great. Usually it will give you an option to just submit your file where you can just drag and drop it into there. I'm not sure why. I'll have a look in the back end while it's not set up properly or something like that at the moment. So you'll just be able, you'll see an option to drag. In fact, I'll just select. I'll just select. Just going to select someone. It's not doing it. Okay, it's not working. I'm sorry, technical issue, but we'll get to that. Yeah, there is an add submission button, but that's going to give me the option to submit for on behalf of someone else. So there is a drag and drop option. So when you created your file and you've saved it for whatever it is, you'll be able to see that there, and you'll just be able to submit it. It's due. Hopefully, it'll actually tell me when it's due in this. Yes, it's due on Thursday. Due a bit later. We wanted it due by maybe the end of the week, by next Monday it's due. So by 5 p.m. next Monday, I'll update that as well. So
okay.
So
it looks like participants are able to see that, Emma. So some comments come in the chat.
That's great. That's great.
We do have that, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
If anybody does have any issues with uploading it or anything, get in contact. I think there are some size limits, which are maybe 100 meg or something.
Yeah, they're significant. So there is plenty of room there. If you are having any issue or anything like that, you can certainly email it to me or share it through a Google Drive or something like that, and then I can upload it for you as well. So I apologize for these technical issues. Sometimes that happens.
Monday's a holiday in New Zealand. All right, we've ticked over the hour. So thank you very much. And Emma will email you with all the instructions. Thanks, everyone.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye.